Chapter 32. The number 8, continued. My heart, my mother, may there be no parting of thee from me in the presence of him that keepeth the balance. Book of the Dead. The effect of number may 8 be compared to that of a balance in which the soul must be weighed. This balance was an important symbol among the Egyptians. The vignette of chapter 30 of the Book of the Dead represents the deceased sitting in one pan of the scales and being weighed against his heart, which is placed in the other. In another vignette, we see the heart of the deceased in one pan of the balance, and a feather, emblematic of right and truth, i.e., what is straight, in the other. In fact, in its ancient form, number 8 resembles a balance. In number 7, man, 5, attains his 2 higher faculties and sees himself not as a 5-fold personality, but as a 7-fold being made in the image of the 7 Elohim. But in number 8, he must see himself not even as a perfected personality, but one with the universe of being. Here he must of his own free will throw into the scales all that he has attained and put it to the test, just as the alchemist who, after long and laborious efforts, has obtained his gold, will first put it to the acid test to see if it is indeed gold, then cast it into the scales to be weighed ere he can truly say, I have attained. The very personality we have so laboriously perfected in number 7 must now be left behind. Our own power, our judgment, our self-reliance, our own guidance, all these are necessary that we may recognize and understand the greatness of the self we have perfected. Yet having completed the cycle of limitation within that lower self, we must now lay it aside as we would lay the body aside in the grave, and face our initiator ere we can evolve into the upper O of the 8, the higher self. But number 8 is more than a balance. It is the purifying flame of the divine breath which sweeps round the soul to consume its dross, and only that which is pure gold can withstand it. Pythagoras calls number 8 the first evenly even number, for both sides of the balance must be made equal, or there must be a cubic stone, on each side of the scale. In other words, in number 8 we must find perfect balance. St. Paul tells us to prove all things, hold fast that which is good, which is but another way of saying weigh, measure, and test. But the student does not have to create his own tests. All he has to do is to strengthen his will, quicken his love, and be ready for all that comes, for life itself will bring the tests. We therefore warn all students who are seeking the balance which precedes initiation not to be over-enthusiastic or rash in asking for tests. Do not demand that all your karma descend upon you all at once, even in one life. Just rest in the knowledge that the great law is divine love, hence the fires of purification will be no hotter than you can bear, provided you let the loving Christ walk with you in the fiery furnace of purification and testing. Many prolong this period of weighing and testing by the pride they take in being able to pass through it so bravely. Since pride and personality are the 2 things which most require purging from the soul, and since number 8 is absolute justice, of necessity the fires must be made the hotter until these impurities are consumed. The crossing point in number 8 is the valley between 2 attainments, the valley between the Mount of Crucifixion and the Mount of Ascension, the valley of the shadow of death spoken of by the psalmist. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, the dweller, for thou art with me, thy rod and thy staff they comfort me. It is only the rod of power, the power of the Christ, and the staff of the one life that can carry the candidate safely through this deep experience. For those who are filled with spiritual pride, this is the valley of humiliation. For ere they can make this great transition, their pride in their spiritual superiority and righteousness must be humbled until they become as little children. This point of crossing is also the straight and narrow gate referred to by Jesus, up to which each soul is brought by evolution. Enter ye in at the strait gate, because strait is the gate and narrow is the way, which leadeth unto life, and few there be that find it. It is also the gate referred to as the needle's eye, through which it is so difficult for the man attached to this world's goods to pass. To enter this gate we must make straight our path, must straighten out all the devious and winding paths of the old life, so that as we enter the higher cycle of evolution, the lower O of the 8 will be straightened out to form the upright stem of number 9. If we fail at this point, we enter the broad gate and go down and round the circle of the old life. Wide is the gate, and broad is the way, that leadeth to destruction, and many there be which go in thereat. If the circumscribing conditions of our old life are straightened out and we pass onward and upward, we can rest assured that we have passed the tests of number 8. But if our life goes over and over the same old conditions without advancing us, repeating the same old mistakes, thinking the same old thoughts, etc., we will know that we have been weighed and temporarily found wanting, hence have missed the narrow gate and must go round the circle of the old conditions until we again find ourselves facing the dweller. Even if our old problems do seem to fall from us, yet we seem to have lost interest in spiritual things, are seemingly switched off into worldly pleasures and excitements, we may know we are upon the broad path, the lower O of the 8. The 8th letter, hate. He produced Cheth, predominant in sight, crowned it, combined and formed with it Cancer in the universe, Tammuz, July, in the year, and the right hand of man, Sepher Yetzirah. The 8th Hebrew letter is hate or Cheth. It is one of the simple letters and is related to the zodiacal sign Cancer. This letter should not be confused with the letter He, which is somewhat similar in name and closely allied in occult significance. Its hieroglyphic meaning is a cultivated field in which a crop is brought forth. It thus suggests labor and effort, as well as the idea of increase and wealth. The field of endeavor may be one in which to cultivate and produce the fruits of peace and plenty, or a field of strife and battle. But in either case it is the field in which the conqueror of the previous, 7th, letter must use his weapon either as a sharp sword or arrow, to gain the supremacy over the forces that would retard his further evolution, or as an implement to cultivate the field that it may bring forth abundant crops. Only, when through victory he has beaten his sword into a plowshare and his spear into a pruning hook, that can they be used to make the field bring forth her increase to bless both the conqueror and all mankind. The field is the field of his own nature and consciousness. Hence the step indicated by the 8th letter should bring to him the increase of evolution. This can be attained only through effort, battle, victory, and balance, and by sedulously cultivating the soil of his field. The conqueror must prove his power to balance the forces of good and evil which are contending in his field and come forth the victor. He must also demonstrate his power as an husbandman to make his field produce to its utmost. Generally, the conqueror has to fight with his sword until he has equilibrated the positive and negative forces. Then will he find his field enriched from the very struggle and bloodshed which at first seemed only to devastate it. Thus perfect justice is attained, for that from which we suffer most and whose adjustment and fulfillment our rebellion and struggles delay, when once we have truly learned our lesson, the law as justice and compensation yields us a harvest, which is all the richer because of the struggle that has drenched our field with the blood of our heart. As with the individual, so is it with the world. There must come an era, even as prophesied by Isaiah, when he shall judge among the people, and they shall beat their swords into plowshares, and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation shall not lift sword against nation, neither shall they learn war any more. This is the inevitable result of evolution. January 1st here and there grasps the idea that war is unnecessary, then gradually a mighty current of thought force embodying that idea sweeps around the world and, appealing to and fostered by woman, is impressed upon the consciousness of the unborn children which will make up the future humanity. Again, since we find this letter in the septenary Yetzirah expressing the underlying force of the sign Cancer, Cancer being the great mother sign and governing the breasts from which all are nourished, we must expect to find a similar meaning in hate. And this we do, for it is both the productive, nourishing, mother force, which is one of the main factors in evolution, and also the masculine force which accomplishes by the use of the hand. Also July is the month of increase, when the fruits are ripe and ready for the harvest. O sing unto the Lord, law, a new song, for he hath done marvelous things, his right hand, and his holy arm, hath gotten him the victory. Psalms 98:1. This is the field in which humanity must bring forth victory for the individual, the race, and for the planet, through perfecting the fruits of equilibration in Mother Earth, upon whose ample bosom all her children shall find enough, not only to sustain life, but to balance all economic problems. And through the balancing of supply and demand they shall take the next economic step in the evolution of the race. Just that which is impressed upon the unborn children and what they draw in from their mother's breast, will the race express. Just so must humanity imbibe from the breasts of the Great Mother the forces of the sign Cancer, which shall give them the power to bring forth the higher ideals in the field of their evolution. Only as we turn to the Great Mother, like tired children, will we find sustenance and to spare. It is therefore not at all remarkable that the 8th letter should stand for a field and be connected with the maternal sign Cancer. For we have seen that number 8 is the step at which humanity must find its balance and where the conqueror of number 7 must turn his weapon into an instrument with which to bring forth increase in the higher O of the 8, instead of destruction in the lower circle.